that the Chancellor thinks will hope to boost jobs. Then when we look at retailers around the country, restaurants, they'll be looking at some of these schemes and thinking, how can I capitalise on that and how can I make the most of that to keep people in work? The VAT cut was a big one as well, where a lot of businesses have been
without any income.
Thanks very much.
Yes, Sean was saying there, it's thought around 3 million people, including some self-employed and small business owners, have been left ineligible for any government help during the pandemic.
Now, the campaign group Excluded UK says that it has left people without any form of income and fearing for the future.
We're now joined by the group's spokesperson, that's Ellie Phillips, and self-employed curtain fitter Mark Whitaker. Very good morning to you both. Mark, maybe we could start with you, just so people understand your circumstances and how it is that you're not eligible for any of the arrangements that have been set up. Can you just explain that for us?
Well, basically, I set up in business in October 2018. Prior to that, I was employed. And because my overall earnings for the year, the greater proportion of it was from employment and not self-employment, that automatically disbars you from the self-employed support scheme.
Right. So that means you're precluded from being part of that. Now, Rishi Sunak yesterday, when he made his announcement in the House of Commons, said one phrase that many people have latched onto. He said, no one, Mark, I address this to you, Rishi Sunak's statement yesterday, no one will be left without hope. I wonder, when you heard those words, what did you think?
Frankly, I burst out laughing. He's left the excluded 3 million plus without hope for the last 3 to 4 months. It's nonsense, frankly. It's empty words and it's meaningless.
Can I ask you, Mark, in practical terms, what does without hope look like for you, for your family, and about what, you know, how life is right now?
Well, how is life for anybody without any income? How are people supposed to survive with no money coming in? It's ridiculous. I wouldn't treat a dog the way he's treating us.
Mark, what do you need? What do you need right now?
We need parity. We need the same support that every other section of society has received. And rightly so. I take my hat off to the Chancellor for doing that much. But why stop? Why has a line in the sand been drawn? We're still citizens of this country, no matter how we pay our tax. It's obscene what's been done to us, frankly.
Ellie, can you reflect on what Mark has been said? Because I imagine you're pretty much in a very similar situation, and you've set up this group, obviously, to campaign to try to get more equanimity, I suppose, and a treatment that you see as fairer.
Yeah, I'm actually the spokesperson for Forgotten PAYE, who represents the 1.7 million forgotten freelancers. I'm also a representative for Excluded UK, which is a CIC that's been set up to support the 3 million plus who've been excluded from this. And Mark's story, unfortunately, is one of millions. I mean, we hear from people every day who are really beyond it now. Like he said, it's been 4 months, and these people have had zero income for that length of time for the most arbitrary reasons. He mentioned the 50% rule, which prohibits a lot of taxpayers from accessing this support. And I think the point is that they are all taxpayers, we are all taxpayers, and it seems that Rishi Sunak has for some reason decided to discriminate against self-employed people for no good reason, because self-employed people, regardless of how they pay tax, whether it's through PAYE, whether it's through a tax return, even whether it's through dividends, they pay tax. He keeps going on about he wants to create jobs, but he hasn't invested any money in these 3 to 5 million taxpayers that he keeps ignoring. He won't even acknowledge that we exist. And I think that was one of the really disappointing things about what happened yesterday. There wasn't even an acknowledgement that these 3 to 5 million people exist, despite the fact that the Treasury Select Committee themselves, a Tory-led, Tory-backed Treasury Select Committee, has said that they exist, despite the fact that now Excluded UK have created an APPG with over 200 MPs, including over 50 Tory MPs, are involved in that now, and he's still acting and insisting that we don't exist. That is systematic gaslighting of 3 million taxpayers, and all they're asking for is parity. They're not asking for special treatment, they're not asking for handouts, they're asking for equality and fairness of a system that they've paid into. Some of these people have paid tax for 40 years and they're being left with zero. And he keeps spouting lies that, that there's other support out there for them. There isn't.
Mark, we have Rishi Sunak speaking to us in, about 15 minutes' time here on the programme. You're saying your voices, and Ellie was explaining that very clearly there, very passionately, are not being heard. Your circumstances are not being heard. What would you say to the Chancellor if you were given that opportunity? Please, just give us an idea of what you would actually want him to know about your life and what's happening.
Well, I prepared a question. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to read it out because I spent a lot of time thinking about it. So, anyway, I welcome the Chancellor's statement that no one will be left without hope. But in light of the campaign by Excluded UK and others, recommendations by the Treasury Committee and pressure from the APPG on Tuesday, can I ask, why don't you do the right thing for the right reasons now before you're shamed into it?